After Dark on this Wednesday, November the 9th, 2022. John Fanta hosting on this Wednesday evening with the coach, LaVall Jordan, one of the newest members of our team this season, the former Butler head coach. He's got that Michigan gymnastics shirt on tonight with Coach Beeline as well. And joining us as well as Scoop Jardine, the former Syracuse guard, the All Big East selection. My guys are here with us tonight. And gentlemen, on the show, we will break down first impressions this evening. Who's impressing us the most? What stands out? Who stands out? Plus, Scoop's going to give us some of his favorite guards to watch in college basketball. We'll talk about the star of the night. That comes from the Davidson Wildcats. Foster Loyer, the Michigan State transfer, had a huge evening. But we begin here tonight with the start of the Kenny Payne era. And the start of the Kenny Payne era, folks, is potentially not very good because Bellarmine leads 67-57. Bellarmine, who is led by a guy that's all too familiar with Louisville basketball, and Scott Davenport. Scott Davenport, a graduate assistant under Denny Crum back in the 80s at Louisville, then working under Coach Pitino at Louisville. And here, Bellarmine is on the cusp of taking down Louisville in Kenny Payne's debut. So, LaVall Jordan, let's begin with this. You see this game, what comes to your mind?
Don't schedule Bellarmine. not early. Look, he had a team that should have been playing in the NCAA tournament last year. He's won a national championship Division II. He's been there for years, and he has a system in place, and he's got a roster full of guys that know the system. So, and Kenny's new with new guys, right? New head coach with new guys. So I don't know if that was something that was already on the schedule that you couldn't change, but that's a tough one early, right, to start when you're trying to figure your team out. And they've already got a lot of things figured out there at Bellarmine. So, that's a hard one because people will penalize like there's nothing against Penny. Scott Davenport's a really good coach, and he's well documented as such. And their transition to Division I wasn't much of a transition. I mean, they did really well last year, and so with Kenny jumping in the seat, it's like, man.
And you
I always say, John, you make your grades at registration.
Right.
You make your grades at registration.
Right.
LaVall, you've got a Scott Davenport story, right?
Yeah, so Scott and I, we were flying this was 2 summers ago in July. I met him a long time ago, and we've stayed in touch. And we were out at the Under Armour, at the Adidas event in Omaha. This is when they had it in Omaha. And I was flying on the Peach Jam, and he was trying to get down there, so he hopped in the plane with me, and we rode in the plane together, and had a good time talking ball. I got to get down there and watch his practice because the other thing is you're trying to install a defensive system. So they're going to make more passes than dribbles, and they're going to get back cuts like all day long, if you're guarding them for Kenny, who's installing his defense and trying to get it right. But, yeah, Scott and I had a great time on the plane ride. And right after that, I got COVID. So I couldn't go out the last week in recruiting. I had to call him and tell him, hey, just so you know, I just got COVID, and so just make sure you go get yourself checked out.
Wow.
But good guy, really good coach, and we'll see if they can pull this thing off tonight. Right now they're up 10.
They're up 10. I mean, Scoop, like let's start with this. The state of Louisville basketball. When you were playing and when you went up against Louisville, what was Louisville as a program?
Powerhouse. That was the Rick Pitino era. Powerhouse. I remember my freshman year, their front line was Earl Clark, Derek Carrick, and Terrence Williams. This was a powerhouse team. That's the NBA front line. Like, I only beat Louisville one time my whole 4 years. Show how good they were.
You beat them one time?
One time.
And what made them a powerhouse?
I feel like Coach Pitino did a great job of getting guys to come in and play his brand of basketball more than anything. They have a great, fan. They have a great fan base, but I think Coach did a great job of getting them to play his brand of basketball. It's something similar. They played zone, but they was more pressing us back into a zone. He would wear his white suit, all white crowd, and at Freedom Hall. Actually, they beat us the last game to close down Freedom Hall. We was the number one team in the country that year, and they upset us. Like that team was not supposed to beat us, but they had a guy come off the bench who we didn't even like plan for. At the time, his name was Kyle Heinrich. Came off the bench. We didn't even plan for him. He didn't even play no minutes throughout the game, and coach put him in. And it shows the greatness, brilliance of Rick Pitino, where he put this guy in, and he hit 7 threes on us, and he upset us.
No, hey, Scoop, I know about the guy coming off the bench.
He was so good. He wound up being really, really good later.
That's
his
it.
first game was
We were I was at Michigan. We were in the national championship game. Trey Burke, Tim Hardaway,
right.
Luke Hancock comes off the bench.
Same thing, right?
and we got a guy, Spike Albrecht, comes off the bench, but Luke Hancock comes off the bench and goes bananas, and starts making threes from all over the place.
Didn't plan for it.
Yeah, we game plan for him. We just didn't do a good job with him. But
this guy, we didn't game.
But here's what comes to mind, guys. And it's 67-61, just a little more than 2 minutes left. So you got a 6-point game here. But Bellarmine's on the cusp, folks, of beating Louisville. Field of 68 after dark. John Fanta, LaVall, Jordan, Scoop Jardine with you tonight. In 2019-20, that was not that long ago.
Seemed like
three years ago, the Louisville Cardinals were 24-7. They were number 1 in the country at one point. They were 15-5 in the ACC. They were a top 15 team. They were on their way to the NCAA tournament. We know, Coach, I know about you. I mean, 2020, that shifted so many programs, so many people.
Yeah.
But it shifted Louisville, and what ended up ensuing was where we're at now. And the fact is, Louisville basketball should never be losing to Bellarmine. It shouldn't happen. It can't happen. And the state of this program at this moment is nothing short of an embarrassment. And it's not because of one reason or one person. There's a variety of things that have gone on. And in the last 5 years, Chris Mack is part of the reason. He's the biggest reason for the success of the program. It's getting them to number 1 in the country. But it goes without saying, 2019-20, the Cardinals were one of college basketball's top teams, LaVall. That 2020, the March of 2020, what that did to certain programs, Louisville's as big a case as any.
Trust me, I know.
I know you do.
We were top 5 team in the country at one point, so I understand. Anthony Grant would probably love to have made a run with Obi Toppin, but it was everybody dealt with COVID, right? But John, you look at it happens, right? And fans hate for it to happen to their program, especially. But when you look at UCLA, right, which is one of the most storied programs that took a dip. You look at Indiana. Now you got Coach Woodson back there, and it happened. You look at other programs in the country, even North Carolina. Back to when Matt Doherty was there, and there was, Coach when Coach retired, Coach Smith retired, and there was a little bit of a lull. So it's not an abnormal thing. We'll see, like when a Coach K retires from Duke, typically, especially when there's sanctions, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Indiana had the sanctions and had the NCAA violations, and then recruits and parents get a little leery. And Louisville had the same thing going on, and so that with coaching turnover, it happens. I'm a Michigan football fan, right? It happens. Michigan, they're finally getting up. By the way, today's signing day. My daughter's going to Michigan next year as a gymnast.
Congratulations!
Let's go.
That was my most impressive thing was the day was my daughter Ava.
Congrats.
Signing day stuff to go to Michigan for gymnastics.
That's what I'm talking about. Congratulations, Ava.
It's a great one right there for the family.
No questions. We're excited about it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But it just goes back. You're also setting yourself up for potential failure. Going up against a guy that.
Think about Kentucky, John. I mean, when Billy Clyde came in, I mean, you hate to say, but it happens, right? It's like Kentucky should always be Kentucky and everybody want it. But there was a period, it wasn't very long, but there was a period there
The
where
Jordan Meeks era.
yeah, where there was a period where you would have probably been saying the same thing about Kentucky.
It can't happen. I mean, it's just. I'm sorry, it can't. But I guess the question is like, can Kenny Payne get this program going? Is he? What's the challenge here for Payne?
I think so. It's when it because look, Chris came in and had him back at number 1 in the country. Like you were saying, tournament hit. Obviously, Kenny's got the recruiting prowess.
Yeah.
He's been around the game for as long as anybody in terms of coaching. He'll find his way as a head coach. It'll be as much as anything, with this group this year because and these guys won't be, these guys might not be where they want to right now, but growing this group this year to set his culture, the way that he wants to play and the brand that he wants to build there. And then just recruiting on top of it, right? His guys, coming in, getting a solid group to build on coming in next year. And now you've got, the portal and things like that, so you can get a little bit older, a little bit sooner. And so it's not as far off as it might look. Look, Bellarmine's a well-oiled machine, connected group. Louisville's trying to figure it out. And so, thus you get a game like this.
I was going to touch on that, Coach. That's the beauty of college basketball right now. Like, you can have a team like that's very old. They're much older, they're much more experienced, and they just know what to do right now. It's early, so I won't press too much with Louisville. Like what Coach was saying, I think Coach Payne going to turn it around. He have a great staff. He, like you say, been around it. He understands. He knows he's been around it for a while, so. I'm not going to press the button just yet. Look, they should pull this out.
You're in a situation now where it's over a minute left. You got a 4-point game. LaVall, you got it up. What
they should pull it out.
What do you think? Well, Bellarmine right now is in a position to win this game up by 4. I mean, LaVall, what are you seeing in this game here as we reach the final minute?
This has been this season. Bellarmine's hanging on now. And here's one of the things that I've seen in some of the other games. When I was watching Creighton St. Thomas or Georgetown Coppin State, some of these early games, even Fairfield? Yeah, Fairfield, Providence. Bellarmine knows who they're going to down the stretch here. Minute 12 to go. Like Scott's got returners. He knows where what he wants to do and where he wants to go. And so do the guys on the team. Louisville, Coach Payne's trying to figure it out. And so these moments here down the stretch, you get to learn a lot about your team, right? And Coach is learning his guys, where Scott has a sure idea of who do I want to go through down the stretch here, what we need to do offensively, defensively, his if they're subbing in offense, defense lineups, right, to be able to get a stop. Louisville's got the ball right here. So Bellarmine needs a stop. So Coach knows his rotations, whereas Coach Payne doesn't know that yet. He's gonna challenge some guys to see if they can deliver, and they'll hit that big shot there.
Mike James with a 3.
Mike James, big shot. So now you're getting this last minute. It's like, your athleticism taking over. We got a turnover.
Yes, we do.
On my play-by-play.
Look at this. And a foul. And a chance for the Cardinals here to take the lead.
I told you, John. They're going to pull it out.
Well, Scoop Jardine pulled out a crystal ball, 67-63, and had Louisville pulling this out.
It always happens. They'll give it up. That's why they're –
Wow. Now people on Twitter are saying, I laugh at this because people are saying you're not giving Bellarmine respect. Folks, Bellarmine's a good program. Program. Louisville shouldn't be playing them at this stage of the game. They shouldn't be playing them in a game like this.
It's too early.
Right? Is it too early, LaVall?
You gotta play somebody. Like I said, you make your grades at registration. So you register for Bellarmine, you know they got the potential to come in and beat you. They're going look, and now
missed free throw.
We got a foul here. So, a team like Bellarmine, they're gonna make free throws down the stretch. They're probably gonna get the shot they want, whether they make it or miss it. So for Coach Payne, it's not, I wouldn't overreact to it. It's just it's more, it gives you feedback on your group. And now coming out of here, being able to keep them encouraged, should they not pull this thing off, keeping your group encouraged, keeping your fans in a position to understand, what this really is. It's a long season, let's be honest. And so, but it's great for his guys and great for Coach to be in a, some of these are great opportunities just to be in a situation. You practice them in practice, you go through everything that you want to do and execute, but you can't replicate, right, being in this moment in the game.
So you got 39.7 seconds left. They're going crazy at the Yum Center. You think it's a mid-January game. They miss the front end, but they get the offensive rebound. Bellarmine's got it with 35 seconds to go, up by 67-66. A drive to the bucket, a rejection, and it's going back to the Cardinals with 27 seconds left in a 1-point game. Where are you going here if you're Louisville down 1?
That's what they're trying to figure out, John.
Inside.
So, Mike James just hit the 3. So now we got to figure out who we want to go to. Noah Locke isn't there anymore, right? That would have been somebody we might go to down the stretch.
I think you use your size and length.
Well, I think you're right, Scoop. You go to the rim, you get a foul called, you've got an opportunity to make something happen. That's just it. Like with this Louisville team, as I watched tonight, one of the things that was strange about their offseason was they really didn't go after guards in the transfer portal. They didn't really do much to upgrade their roster. And I think in this game, we've seen they just had, this is where when you don't go after somebody that can be that alpha, you're trying to figure it out at this stage of the game. And that's just it, LaVall. With where a lot of these rosters are at this stage of the season, these coaches they're trying to figure out their teams. And guess what? They got to now win a game.
Yeah, it's and it's gonna be. It was always that way, John. You have freshmen coming in, typically, your transfers sitting out. You lose some seniors. That was the norm. But now with the immediate play out of the portal, I've talked to a ton of coaches, and most of them, would say, Coach, we got 7-8 new guys. We're trying to get this figured out. So if you got 7-8 new players, and that may be the norm because you don't know who's going to leave at the end of this year, but you're just trying to find your chemistry, find your rhythm, find your rotation. So there's a lot of things going on there that you don't have a continuity established.
All right, take me through here, LaVall. Take us through what you're thinking here. Down 1.
Well, Louisville wants to get a shot you got to get a shot on the rim to have a chance at a second.
And not exactly the way you want it to go. Louisville's going to have it, folks. 9.8 seconds left.
See, this is, it looked like coming out of the timeout, coach had something drawn up, but somebody zigged when they should zag. And now you need a player to make a good decision, make a play. They got plenty of time left, 9.8 on the clock. You send everybody to the glass. You tell your team out of the timeout, hey, everybody's going to the glass. We don't have to worry about getting back in transition. And if you're Bellarmine, you're I'm sure Scott told his team at timeout, hey, it's not the first shot that beats you, right? It's the second shot. And so making sure that they get a body on a body and get Louisville off the backboards when the shot goes up. Louisville, you want to make sure you get a shot on the rim, right?
That's
stepped out of bounds and turned it over. So, at minimum, get a shot on the rim so that you can go for it. You can have an opportunity to go rebound the ball.
When you've got a baseline out of bounds here, 9.8 to go, you have more than enough time. Louisville down 1, folks, to Bellarmine. If you're just joining us, Field of 68 After Dark. John Fanta, LaVall, Jordan, Scoop Jardine with you. We're presented as we always are, by Bet Rivers. 9.8 seconds left. Louisville has it for a baseline out of bounds, down 1 to the Bellarmine Knights. Bellarmine trying to take down the Cardinals in Kenny Payne's debut. LaVall, Jordan, what are you thinking on a baseline set here with 9.8? Plenty of time.
Well, most important thing, John, is to get the ball inbounds safely. So some guys like to run. Don't get too cute. Get it in. They got a good shot, good look on the rim, and there it is, right? Offensive rebound second. And
oh my, the ball flipped to the other end of the court. And with less than a second left, the Bellarmine player flipped the ball all the way down to the other end of the court to take 5 seconds off the clock.
You throw it sky high, but throw it to the other end.
How smart of a play was that?
Yeah, it's something that you tell your guys, hey, if there's a low clock, right, throw it up in the air toward our basket.
My coach never wanted us to do that one. Hated that. Bayham hated that. Hated that.
And at worst, now you got 0.5 with a full court. If you throw it a little higher, clock runs out, game's over.
Right.
Justin Betts, a grad student.
Smart, see?
Just made one hell of a smart play.
Either that or he just didn't want to shoot free throws if he got fouled.
Right.
It might have been a play that Jim Boeheim hates, but it's a play that Scott Davenport loves.
No, it's a smart play. It's a smart play if you can pull it off, like Coach said, throw it in the air. But I didn't see that happen, and a guy did it, and it didn't go far. And you remember the NBA when Mo Pete wound up taking the ball and making a shot at them, Mark.
That's it. State. The Bellarmine Knights have taken down Louisville in Kenny Payne's debut, 67-66. Scott Davenport, the former grad assistant back in the day under Denny Crum, worked for Rick Pitino. Tonight at Louisville, Scotty Davenport has his first win over a Power 5 program since the Knights joined Division I. What a moment for Bellarmine. And the Louisville Cardinals fall in Kenny Payne's debut. And guys, Scoop, you know those Louisville Cardinal fans. They're gonna be a long night.
It's gonna be brutal. Very loyal fans.
I'm telling you, there's nothing. We opened with we played Lincoln Memorial again. Now the coach from Lincoln Memorial, he's now at Indiana State. Really good coach. They had been the Final Four at the Final Four. They had one of Butler's former players, Sean Van Zandt, was on their staff, so we were bringing Sean back to Hinkle Fieldhouse. But it's a game. Like, we're sitting there playing Division II Lincoln Memorial, and it's a game, and it's my, I'm opening and I'm thinking, why did we schedule Lincoln Memorial?
Bad one.
They're good. They got a bunch of 24-year-old guys that have transferred from wherever, and they just came off a Final Four run last year at Division II. Like, if it wasn't for Sean Van Zandt, former player, there's absolutely no reason to be playing those guys. They're too good.
Man.
Trap games.
Man. All right, let's move on here on Field of 68 After Dark. Keep it moving here. First impressions, guys. First impressions. Who's standing out to you? What's standing out to you of the teams that have won? I'll tell you what, little nugget. Big Ten and Big East are the only two power conferences that are unbeaten at this stage. So in terms of first impressions, wherever you want to go, LaVall, start with you. Where's a team? Who's a team that's standing out to you here in the first nights of the season?
Yes, as far as Big Ten and Big East, I watched a lot of Big East games. I'm calling the Marquette Central Michigan game tomorrow night. And I thought Villanova, just with not having Justin Moore available, Cam Whitmore out with the injury, Caleb Daniels was everything he needed to be. I know last time we were on here, Scoop was talking about Caleb and coming out of the gates, 24 points, 6 for 7 from 3, 10 boards. And 4 assists, 1 turnover and he's not a point guard, but to just take control, knowing that Justin's not available yet. And there's some new guys, Mark Armstrong, freshman. He had to, and LaSalle, look, it was a game. They got up, LaSalle cut it. I mean, it was a game.
That's a Philly game right there. That's in city, a big game.
That's a huge one. And LaSalle played, but I thought I was just really impressed with his performance. And with Villanova, I thought Brandon Slater watching that game, his motor, he was all over the place. And Eric Dixon hit a couple threes. They were Villanova, right? Just like that. It didn't look any different. And Kyle got his first win under his belt, but they looked like Villanova.
I was going to touch on that, Coach. That was my Caleb Daniels was a guy I was looking at, and he answered all my questions. 24, like you said, 10 boards, and he really played big. He hit every big shot in that game that was needed. And but I'm gonna go to Kansas with Jalen Wilson. Okay. Jalen Wilson filled the stat sheet up: 19, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. I feel like if he can play like that as a returning player, older player, he filled the stat sheet up. He showed that he was a leader. I think that's a good. Jalen Wilson showed me a good start off for the start of the season as a head coach. I would love to have one of my older guys come back and be ready right off the bat.
I tell you what, he got some help from the freshmen.
Didn't he? 24. I saw that too. Yeah, I saw it. 24.
He's good. He's good. 6'8", quick release. I think he had 23 points, 4 for
23.
6,
Yeah,
3.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him a ton. I saw a glimpse of him on the circuit, but Grady Dick is, he's not afraid, and he's got a little stuff to him too. He's got an attitude, right? So he plays. Right. You can tell he plays like he's got a little Midwest toughness. He's from Wichita, but man, he was
a good kid. Like, he really can play. Yeah, he was really impressive.
He can, and the fact is that Jalen Wilson has to be the guy the guy. He's got to be that guy. He's got to take the keys from Ochai Agbaji and really charge Kansas. What I look at with this Kansas team is the versatility for their group really makes their ceiling fascinating, because I think that there's a level of unknown with what they actually end up being, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I wonder about the center position in the Big 12, which is difficult, but they really do have some interesting options because, guys, it's not just Wilson. It's not just Grady Dick. They've got the point guard in DeJuan Harris, but the fact that they brought in Kevin McCullough, an intra-conference transfer who's tough and versatile, he really defends. That was a quality addition in the portal in the offseason.
Yeah, a good pickup. And look, they'll look a little different than a traditional Bill Self team on the inside.
You're right.
They'll be a little smaller than what you normally see with a Kansas team. Normally they've got Bouquet or somebody in there that's a monster. But the versatility that they have it'll be a unique version, of one of Coach Self's teams.
Man, I'm fascinated to see what happens when Kansas goes up against Duke, Michigan State going up against Kentucky in the Champions Classic next week. It's going to be plenty of fun, and we are going to be live. That's right. Field of 68 is heading on the road to Indianapolis, folks. We want you to come visit us, come see us at the Tap, just a few blocks away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We will be live from 2 to 6 Eastern time ahead of the Champions Classic. Come on over to the Tap. If you beat Rob Dowster in, I don't know, a keg stand, a shotgun, if you beat him shotgun the beer, we'll give you some free merch. Done, right? Scoop, would you beat Dowster?
I will beat him for the free merch, for sure.
Did you party in Syracuse?
Number one party school when I was there. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. It was number one party school, though, when I was there.
Hey, you got to stay warm somehow. Right? I mean, come on. Let's transition. Let's transition.
I'll say this, John, in terms of impressed also, there was a couple other, like Kassan Wallace, Kentucky, I saw him quite a bit. And he had a maturity about his game, when you watched him on the high school level and on the circuit, and coming out of the gates 15, 8, and 9 for a freshman, playing point guard. And I think they've got, I always would say, the good teams, the better teams that I've coached, you got a few guys, you got three, a couple guys that can hit 53, at least two, right? If you got 3 or 4, you're in business. And with Frederick, his ability to shoot the ball, which is, something that's going to really help. Wallace, I think he hit 1 3, but he's an overall floor game. So he was impressive. And then I look at, 2 of the Big Ten teams. Well, one, Illinois, where I thought I went and watched Illinois practice, back in early October, September, and Terrence Shannon. So I probably went around, during this time to maybe 20 practices, different teams, and Terrence Shannon was as explosive and dynamic as any athlete I saw, during those couple of weeks. And I talked to Brad about him and said to their staff, like, he should live at the foul line. And he shot 15 free throws in their opener. Because, like, he's, him with a rebound, busting out on the break, like, you've got to make some decisions on what you're going to do there. And his teammate I didn't get to see Coleman Hawkins practice. He practiced that day, but he was coming off an injury or something. But 5 for 8 from 3 for their big. That they're playing 5 out. Brad's he's playing a whole lot different than when he had Kofi in the middle. So they got 5 out going on. They got the 2 freshman guards. They got Terrence Shannon. So there's a lot more space with the way they're going to play this year, which will allow Shannon to get downhill, which will allow freshman guards, to have maybe a little more success. That they were impressive just for an opener.
Terrence Shannon, for those who don't know, that kid gets up at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. every morning. He is in the gym getting shots up. Brad Underwood thought he was insane when he first came to Champaign, but then he realized this is just who he is. Yeah. That's just who Terrence Shannon is. And I think
that's his makeup.
From the outside looking in, guys, people say life after Kofi, how did they do it? How did they do it? How did they do it? You got to do it differently, but by being different and more versatile and perhaps being able to throw in more matchup wrinkles, not anything against Kofi Cockburn, could that make Illinois more dangerous as the season goes on?
I believe so.
Yeah, their freshman guards they're only going to continue to get better, right? Sky Clark and Jaden Epps he had a great day the day I was there. Now, he didn't play great coming out of the gate, but those guys are young. But a guy like Shannon allows them to not have so much pressure on him, right? Because he can handle the ball and make some decisions. He can lead a fast break. And I think their ability to switch defensively, like when you throw in Ty Rodgers, who's just kind of going to be a glue guy, do a little bit of everything with Shannon and Mayer and Coleman Hawkins, right? You can switch 5 ways with that group, right? You can play a little bit bigger with Dana Danger, the big kid that transferred from Baylor. But you're not in this drop coverage all the time with Kofi, and where guards can kind of figure it out, right, in the league. Now, in the Big Ten, it helps when you have Kofi because you got banged with Hunter Dickinson and Zach Edey and all these, behemoths at the center position. But Coleman Hawkins is going to pull those guys out on the floor. I mean, Hunter Dickinson has to come out on the floor and guard him, and so does Zach Edey, or they're going to have to adjust with it. I mean, hit 5 threes from that spot. And so it changes the way they play versus the league.
Yeah, putting up with Zach Edey. Tom Izzo said it at Big Ten Media Day. He didn't think God could stop him.
Wow, that's a great compliment. from Izzo?
From Izzo.
Wow.
From
That's
Izzo.
A hell of a compliment right there.
Well, look, the guy's at 7'4". I mean, you look at him on a scout, and this I don't know what they're drinking there. I don't know what Matt Painter is doing, but the guy
got the market corner.
By the way, he reminded me of
Isaac Haas, AJ Hammond,
Steven Adams. He's Steven Adams and reincarnated again.
Yeah, he's got the market corner. If you're 7'2" and above, you go to Purdue.
You go to Purdue. I love Matt, by the way. He coached me at USC. I mean,
USA basketball.
USA basketball was my coach. Great guy.
And great coach. Has done a
He's got
terrific
great
job.
coach.
Fletcher, you were talking about Fletcher lawyer or Foster lawyer who had a great night tonight.
Great night.
His brother, the freshman Fletcher, he had a good opening night.
Right.
At Purdue, I think he had 17, and he got off a number of threes, but he had a good night, 5 for 12 from three. And they need that, right? They lost, obviously losing Sasha Stefanovic. They'll need that. Right? They need some production on the perimeter to keep the paint open for Big Zach Edey.
That is our Field of 68 after dark star of the night.
He looked like Yao Ming. I went to that practice school. He looked like Yao Ming.
No, you hit it right on the nose. That's exactly who he looked like. He runs
that was the
like
only person I
everything.
could think of was Yao Ming.
He runs like him and everything.
With Zach Edey.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
We got a Zach Edey Yao Ming comp on night 3 of
I'm not saying he's that, but it was like
no, but that's perfect. They run just alike. For sure.
Hey, you said it, LaVall. That's our Field of 68 star of the night. Foster Lawyer went for 38 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists for Matt McKillop and Davidson as the Wildcats beat Wright State 102 to 97 in double OT.
Great points.
What a game.
Yeah.
What a game. I mean,
man.
38, 11, and 9 for Foster Lawyer. He is our Field of 68 After Dark star of the night. So let's transition here, guys. You think about
their dad, Brad, like they come from basketball, all ball. Dad, Brad coached at Cincinnati. He works with the Clippers. And so those two boys.
It's a basketball family.
And then Foster played for Dan Fife. Dane Fife and Dugan Fife's father at Clarkson High School over in Michigan. So, we recruited Foster, back when we were in Michigan. He obviously went to Michigan State first, but they just know how to play. And tough kids that just know how to play basketball, always been coached. They'll be coaching one day. Both of them, by the end of it, they'll be coaches.
Great.
Moving to where we're at here, guys. Opening week, you got tons and tons of games. We've hit on this topic on Field 68 After Dark. Here's the deal. We're in night 3 of the season, and frankly, the interest that you would like to generate in opening week, the casual fan, they're not into it because there's just not enough buzzworthy matchups these first couple of nights of the season. There's just not. We love it. We love college basketball, but we got to call it like it is. And by the same token, there's just hasn't been enough juice here the first couple of nights of the year. Now, granted, Champions Classic would normally be last night, but due to Election Day, it gets pushed back a week. It'll be on Tuesday. As we said, we'll be there at the Tap in Indianapolis. But the fact is this opening week slate has been underwhelming, and that would probably be an understatement. So what do you guys make of opening week? And if you try to make an alteration or a change or something, there's been millions of suggestions put out there. What would you do?
Good.
That's a good question, John.
That's a hell of a question.
So here's where I sit from answering that question, and I don't know if I have an answer for it because, again, I'm gonna have a coach's lens on this, and the portal now plays a huge factor because, I mean, you got 6, 7, 8 new guys if you've done that. So you're trying to figure out your team. And that's hard because and then you might have injuries. Like you might have injuries, you're worried about health and things like that. So now then you're battling Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football.
Right.
From a TV standpoint, if you're trying to but coaches don't worry about that stuff. We just worry about trying to find out rotations. You're trying to get your team together, trying to maybe get some guys that didn't play or produce as much. You're trying to let things reveal themselves to you. Obviously, the level picking up, you'll learn a lot real quick, and you can't overreact to any of it. So I don't know if I have a solution. I would say, if you had one marquee game that everybody was tuning in to watch, if that'd probably be enough. But to jump into league play or conference play right out of the gates. I don't know if that'll go over well at the conference coaches meetings.
What about the marathon? Like, I know it's sticky. I get that. But it did give programs a national TV exposure. Like when you're St. Peter's one year hosted a game at 2 a.m. You're San Diego, you're St. Mary's, even on a higher level.
On the West Coast, right?
A West Coast program's able to host a game that tips off at 4 a.m. or whatever it might be. Like, that to me was so welcoming to even the casual fan. People thought it was cool that college basketball was going to be on for 24 hours straight. You had insane people go the whole length of the marathon. It welcomed the sport back. It was different. It was fresh. My point, bring back the marathon. Like, Scoop, why not?
John. I agree to the fullest. You just put it into perspective. Like, you have college fans who, if you put the marathon, they would stay up all night. I'm on the West Coast, by the way. So you have a 1 a.m. game, East Coast. Like, well, I can turn it on. I don't have to watch ESPN. I can watch a real life game. Come on. That's more. Bring back the marathon, please.
Do you get fans that you don't already get? Like, you're gonna get the diehards.
I feel like
marathon. Are you pulling in?
I feel like for a guy like for a fan like myself, for example, right now I'm retired.
You're a basketball guy, though. I mean,
so I would love to turn it on at 1 a.m. and I can watch a game.
But you're gonna watch anything. You just watch Bellarmine and Louisville. You're gonna watch anything that comes on.
Yeah, but
just like John.
I'm saying
you're right. It's a good welcome back, but does it attract? So the marathon, again, from a coach's lens, like this, we gotta have this odd game prep for a 2 a.m. morning game, and nobody's watching that isn't normally watching.
All right, but what if you were I'm just saying
that's not true.
What if you were the head coach at Milwaukee, and I said to you at the Horizon League, in the Horizon League, Coach, we're going to put you on ESPN, okay? It's the only time that our league can get on ESPN, main ESPN in the regular season. Games at 2 a.m., so 1 a.m. Central Time. Would you host the game?
Yeah, we're probably going to, right? but who's watching it? Who's going to watch us play at 2 p.m. in the afternoon?
You don't know what certain people are doing at 1 and 2 o'clock.
Let me give you a story, morning. Coach, my senior year
been watching Milwaukee play at 2 at what's that?
If you suffer, let's say you suffer from indigestion, you go to the bathroom middle of the night. College basketball's on.
I do think that's a good middle because the big matchups are hard to play.
That's true.
People work from home. People work from home. What about wait? Hold on.
I was about to say that.
You know what? How about Get Up? They take Get Up off the air. So Dick from Kansas City, who's a huge, huge Chiefs fan, he loves the frickin' Chiefs. This guy eats, breathes, sleeps Patrick Mahomes talk. So he turns Get Up on every morning with a coffee in hand and a newspaper, and his wife Karen heads over to the local bakery to get him a bagel. Well, Dick from Kansas City, I'm about to give you a matchup between South Dakota State and Florida Atlantic, and you're going to like it.
He's going to watch it.
I think he'll watch it. You know why? He's retired. He has nothing better to do, and he'll watch a live game.
That's where I was going at, John.
Live sports always wins. Live sports always wins. People work from home. Hell, people don't even work anymore. What do people do all day? I don't know. I don't know what they do all day. I mean, I could theorize. Put the college basketball marathon on, and I'm telling you, I'm not saying it's doing a huge rating, but it's more momentum than what we got now, because what we got now in terms of momentum is not much.
It gives you an opener. It gives you something to look forward to, something unique, something different.
Bring back the marathon.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Bring back
the marathon.
Bring it back. Bring it back, please.
Which we want to tell you, speaking of T-shirts, we're promoting the Champions Collection in the merch store here on After Dark. The Champions Collection, 20% off, folks, with the code CHAMPIONS. Champions, there's a new Providence Luck shirt. You got to check that out. We've got this promo going on right now, 20% off with the code CHAMPIONS. Check out the Champions Collection in the Field of 68 merch store. All right, we got about 15 minutes left. I'm telling you, LaVall, I know what you're thinking, but my grandma wakes up every morning at 4 a.m. and prays the rosary. Right. If they brought back the marathon, I'd call Grandma up and say, Grandma, Mary can wait 2 hours. Turn on the game.
I'll be watching college basketball at 3 a.m. What's
that?
Your grandmother's not watching basketball at 3 a.m.
She's probably not.
Coach, my grandma is watching college basketball. This is true. Like, she's watching it. She's that in tune. Especially if one of her boys is playing.
She would watch you at 4 a.m.
But I honestly think if you say like Gonzaga and Kentucky are coming up, right?
Sure.
Right. That's a different game.
They open the season.
Well, the Champions Classic would start the marathon some years. Like the Champions Classic doubleheader would kick off the marathon.
Right.
But like it can't. Here's the other thing. Don't sit here and tell me, folks, well, the Champions Classic will be back the first Tuesday of the season. Big deal. It impacts four teams. The Champions Classic is great, but let's build momentum for all the teams across the country. Like, let's zone in on a St. Louis, in the Atlantic 10, a Drake in the Missouri Valley. Let's look around the country at some of those programs. North Texas, give them a national TV exposure. Like, try to be different here. Because right now, it can't just be as simple as we'll watch those teams in March. Introduce them to the audience this first week of November.
Yeah, you could, again, from the coach's side of it, you want fans, no question. But you're looking at your team, and your team when you schedule games. Like, if you got a veteran team that can go on the road and handle being on the road to start the season, or if you got a young team that you need to find a couple home games to let those guys get some, get some rubber under their tires before we get challenged, and you're trying to build it up because there's a psychological impact to scheduling. So, but for the fan bases and all that, something I know they used to do bracket busters back in the day, and it's like,
yeah, I remember that.
Do it earlier to open the year, maybe, to get some people involved around the Champions Classic. But I don't know, John. Convincing coaches to play those when they got 8 new guys out of the portal.
I'm with you there, which is what brings up the next point. It brings up the next point. Like, Scoop, when you were at Syracuse, and this is not it's not meant to take, I'm not, I hope you take this the right way, but like, Boeheim would play a lot of the locals. You'd rack up, like, what'd your non-conference schedule look like?
Boeheim don't leave the state of New York. He don't leave. He basically bring everybody to him. And if we go anywhere in New York, we're going to the Garden. So he schedules a very a schedule where we control, I would say. For 25 years he did that. Everybody know that. Boeheim is one of the best schedulers in the league and the country because he don't leave the state of New York. I told, before we got on the show, I said one time we lost to Lemoyne. It was an exhibition game, but we only played them because they was in the same. Lemoyne is literally right down the street from us, but that was an exhibition game, and we wound up losing to him. But losing to that team, and he made sure he wanted to show us that we wasn't a good zone, a good team man to man, so we can basically buy into the zone. But he doesn't leave the state of New York. One of the best schedulers there is. Every time Boeheim's going to start 20-0, 21-0, 21-1.
And you're in an era.
My 4 years. My 4 years we started, no lie. Like, I was 18-0, I was 21-0, I was 22-0 because he does a great job of scheduling. Like you said, Coach. Yeah,
when you look, I mean, you're going to get 31 guaranteed.
And in the Big East too, though. You were right about that. In the Big East,
and now leagues are going to 20 conference games, so you're gonna play 20 hard games, right.
So yeah, right.
Challenging games, and if you're in an MTE, you're gonna play 2 or 3 more, so you're sitting at 23. If you got a conference challenge, Big Ten ACC challenge, a Gavitt game,
we have one of those.
You're at 24, right? And again, so you're already at 24, 25 of like top tier opponents,
right?
And you got 6, so you have 6 or 7 games left to play. that where you can try to figure out find your rotations, get enough minutes for guys early, and see what you have, because you may have thought one thing, and not that those games are cakewalk. I mean, you're gonna play. We played Wofford one year, and it's like Wofford's. They're good. Like it's not like we can play a C game and beat Wofford, or So I think those challenges and different styles challenge you, but that's a coach thing, a basketball thing, maybe not as much as a thing that's going to attract fans. Like we played Princeton one year. Well, that's on a back-to-back. So the things that we would try to do is we were going to play a Saturday and a Sunday, because we're going to get to the conference tournament at some point down the stretch and have to play back-to-back-to-back. So you try to get a dose of it. It's all about reference points from our, get a dose of it so you can refer back to it, so that you can say, hey, we've done this before, right? So if it's a tight game, it ended up being a tight game. If you lose, right, then you got something to reference and say, hey, we've done this before. We've been here before. So let's not make that same mistake. Or, we've executed. Let's, take a deep breath and let's do what we did. And that's what it gives you, right? That's what all these opportunities give you. Whether you're playing Kentucky and Gonzaga or you're playing, Coppin State, doesn't matter.
Scheduling. Like, watching these teams play, here's the deal. Here's the deal. So, of course, Oklahoma and Florida State, if we offered them a different contest, they would love to have it back. They would love to have that night back. Like, I get that coaches want to rack up wins. And there are plenty of coaches out there who want to get to 9-10 wins and in their non-conference, because they know, hey, if I get to 9 or 10 wins and I go around 5, if I go 500 in my conference and I have 10 non-conference wins and I got 20 wins, they're probably not going to leave me out. They're not leaving me out of the NCAA tournament. But like, when you got this much stuff to figure out, these coaches got a lot to figure out early in the season after the offseason that a lot of these programs are having. When you got 7, 8, 9 new faces on your team, like, there's where I look at it and I say, playing a conference game early in the season, like first or second week, I know coaches, they might freak out about it, but you might think
they did it in football, right?
They did that in football. Like, that might not kill you as badly as you think it is if that first game you got as much stuff as you got to figure out. That's my point. Just saying.
Yeah. Good point. TV, something will get figured out. It's somebody's job. It's not mine. Somebody's job to figure this out, John.
Well, what did LaVall, when you made a non-conference schedule, what was your mindset? Share with the fan.
Well, I went from, so like, we were at Milwaukee. We only played 13 home games, and so that was miserable, because it's like, and so when we set our schedule for the next year, we were trying to get 17, if we could, 16, 17, if we could get 18 home games. So we put together our own MTE to host in Milwaukee, so we could get 3 games at home, right, to add in, because we had a couple of home and homes, return games we had to have. But it's the second. I mean, recruiting and scheduling are two of the most important things you do, because obviously you got to have talent, but then you have to make sure you're playing the right teams on the right terms, right, and at all times. And then, so if you got a young team and you're just going to go on the road, you're going to get beat down psychologically. That's hard to recover. But we were really challenged It's different when you're in a high major conference and you get to buy games and bring people to you, right? And you're still going to have a shot to play 25, quality games on top of it. And now you get your group some experience and get a flow, right, to head into a lot of those matchups. So the mentality's, different depending on where you are. Some teams you got to bring in money, so you don't have a choice. You're trying to upgrade your program and use that for revenue. So it just depends on where you are, but it's always a constant thought of how you're going to schedule, and a lot goes into it. It's not just it is winning and losing the game, but obviously there's revenue generated, there's money involved, there's a lot of pieces to it.
But Scoop, Jim Boeheim never went to Ohio or Indiana or California.
We're not leaving the state of New York. The furthest we're going is to Madison Square Garden, where you're going to generate a lot of money, have all our fans come, and we will play in North Carolina. We'll play Ohio State, but it's a home game for us.
Right.
Here's the thing, guy. Would you rather be excited about opening day, or would you rather be excited in March about your team?
Sure. Good question.
Right? Just saying.
Good question.
All right, let's hear this here as we start to wind down. Scoop Jardine, I ask you for your top 5 guards in college basketball.
Right.
Lay them on us tonight.
Okay. So I'm going to start off any order, but my first is Marcus Sazer from Houston. As we know, I feel like the most complete guard in college basketball.
Really good. We played him a couple years ago, Scoop.
Yeah, like he's like the most complete. Really complete. Second, I'm gonna go with Nick Smith. He has the most potential from all the NBA scouts. A big guard, remind me of like a Jamal Crawford. Like really, really good player. And I think he's gonna be really good on the NBA level as a freshman. Nick Smith, number 2. I'm gonna go with Mike Miles at TCU. A 3-level scorer.
Got game.
Right? Number 4 is going to shake the room up a little bit. I'm going to go with Isaiah Wong at Miami.
Really?
And why is because I feel like last year Miami made the Elite 8. He was a really consistent player, but this year is going to take over. He came back. He could have went to the NBA, but he came back, and I think this is the year where you show scouts he's a 3-level scorer as well. So I'm going to take Isaiah Wong. He's been playing well the first game or whatever, but I think this is the year where he takes over that leadership role, and he really makes his impact to be a better professional player. So I'm going to go Isaiah Wong at 4. Right? And number 5, I'm going to go with my man Tyger Campbell from UCLA. A 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, the most Mr. Reliable out of all the point guards I just named, or guards, he's the most. And I just saw him watching exercise right now. He's the most reliable for me. He's going to do the right thing. He's going to get the guys the right shots. And he's a great backup point guard at his best. And I love that.
I'll tell you what, there's not much contention to what you just brought up. I mean, we can go where you go, Coach. Anywhere?
What you say, Coach?
I don't know. I was impressed with Kassan Wallace for a freshman. Nick Smith we recruited Nick. I actually got to know him, pretty well.
Really good
play,
really good.
But you got to still do it once the game.
Yeah, you got to do it. Right.
You're leaving off Adam Flagler.
Yes.
Baylor, we recruited Adam. So maybe I'm partial to the guys I've been on the phone with and been.
And again, I put Isaiah Wong for that.
But
he's
you also leave out R.J. Davis and Caleb Love.
Yep.
Caleb, again, for me, he has this.
Yeah, and I like both of those guys. Sometimes it's hard to choose between them.
Right, true. But to me, the most important one was Marcus Sazer, honestly.
I think that's like, for me, again, I've seen him up close and personal, and we had no answers. So I'm partial to classic. But Caleb Daniels is in there. Just the way he stepped out in the first game of the year.
I like that. I like that,
I
coach.
hate the list, but the group that stands out, but that's he's one of the guys that stood out right out of the gates. And so, those guys, Tyrese Hunter. Now, I mean, if you watched him as a freshman at Iowa State and how he led that group and
yes,
came out of the gates down at Texas, had a good game to start the year. He's just got the it factor. Like, big shot to take, he's gonna take it, probably gonna make it, doesn't flinch. So, I don't know if that's a 5, but there's some guys that they got some arguments to be in that group.
Right.
I gotta tell you
again, coach. I had to narrow it. I was trying to pick.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's very hard. Like, everybody is different in their own life. But the one who impressed me the most, like I said, was the guard from Houston. Like, in his first game, he had 21 points in 28 minutes.
Totally with you on that.
He's 21 points in 28 minutes. It was effortless. He showed that he actually is here.
Like, athleticism, shifty. He can shoot the 3 with ease. I mean, play the role, make it like he's got it.
Look, what was a common theme there? A bunch of Big 12 too, and that just sums up what that Player of the Year race is going to be in that league potentially. Because you think about Tyrese Hunter, you think about Adam Flagler and L.J. Cryer. Mike Miles is there too, and the list goes on and on. And I'll tell you what, you brought up Tiger Campbell. Great poll scoop on your list. Amari Bailey looks like he is going to be a scary, scary level freshman. Mick Cronin has a legit national title contender out in L.A. with Jaime Jaquez.
But it's all in Tyler's hands.
And Tiger Campbell.
It's in his hands.
Like, he throws the game. Like, it's not going to stand out in the same way as Sasser, but what Tiger does for his team.
Yes.
Scoop, you got to be a point guard to understand.
It's Mr. Reliable. I was that guy. So I put him as my number 5, but he's like number 1 to me. Because he's that important. You know?
Yeah. Let me tell you something, LaVall. You just said it best to cap the show. You got to be a point guard to understand. The only thing that I'm a point guard on is that 4 a.m. marathon game. I'll get a bag of popcorn going, and I'll champion that as part of the marathon. If you learned anything for that, if you need a point guard for that effort,
you on it.
I'm on it. I'm on it. When it comes to top
of, you didn't say anything about Darius McGee, my guy, Coach Richie McKay down there as a player
at Liberty.
Darius McGee. Down at Liberty.
He's big time. Was the leading scorer 2 years ago in college basketball and back for another season. Liberty is a dangerous, dangerous team. So he's another one there. There's plenty of – look, in the year of the big, as we say at the Almanac and at the Field of 68, the guard play is going to keep coming on and hit that button that Terrence Oglesby loves to push. Point guard play, how much it matters. That's why Tiger Campbell, that's why Mike Miles, that's why you brought up Isaiah Wong, like all those guys here are on there. But we've run out of time. It's after midnight. Another edition of Field of 68 After Dark in the book. Scoop's got his arms up. Did I miss something?
I have one, yes. I like Michigan State over Gonzaga. AJ Hogarth, by the way. I just was on the phone with him. He told me personally they're going to beat them. So I need to say that. I was just on FaceTime with AJ Hogarth, who said, Scoop, I'm about to put on a show. Coach, I had to say it. Like, he told me this. Like, he told me to put it on this show. They're going to upset him. If it's an upset, because it is a what?
It would be an upset, and Scoop Jardine just dropped a bomb. Just dropped a bomb.
My guy AJ told me to post it. Tell you guys it's happening.
Okay. Scoop Jardine has been told by AJ Hogarth Michigan State's going to pull it off over Gonzaga.
That's what he told me. He actually wanted me to come, but I said I couldn't be there. I'm coaching myself, but they're going to pull it out.
That game is Friday on the aircraft carrier in San Diego. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
he
Scoop
just told
Jardine,
me
that's how you close with a bang. That's LaVall. I see you smiling.
I was thinking just put Scoop on and have him make predictions to open the college basketball season.
Please.
And everybody will watch. Everybody will watch.
No,
And
AJ told me this on Clubhouse. He said, Scoop, we're going to win. Like, hold on, bro. He said, we're going to win.
all I'll say
So-
is Tom Izzo is sleeping peacefully at the moment.
Right.
I hope he doesn't check Twitter in the morning. That being said, I like the confidence factor. Michigan State over Gonzaga per AJ Hoggard to Scoop Jardine.
There you go.
He's LaVall Jordan. I'm John Fanta. And this is why you got to watch the Field of 68 After Dark.